started. Let me see.
Jamie. Oh, there you
Yes,
go. I was just going to say, I think you can present in Teams.
that's working now.
Yeah, that's full screen now.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. So thank you for joining the session today, and sorry for those technical difficulties. Just wanted to make a reminder that we will be recording the session. We like to make these available. The session has been recorded in the past and is available through CMS and also on our CMS training YouTube channel. I believe the recording has already started. And it just, if you want to join the session, it'll ask you to mute your mic. So yeah, this is an introductory session. CMS for Engineering is no longer new anymore. We have been live for almost 2 years now. I think it was May of 2024 when the engineering module first came online. But this is sort of more of our introductory training, so it covers all the basic aspects of CMS for Engineering, and it is available for both internal and external users today. And I can see we have about 250 people on the line currently, so that's great. Thanks to the technology of Teams, we are able to reach a large audience. Of course, we would love to be able to provide these sessions in person, but it is difficult with so many different users. I'd like to just introduce myself and our presenters for today. So I'm Jamie Lozon. I am the head of the Business Solutions section here in the Contract Management Office in St. Catharines, and our office is responsible for the implementation and ongoing maintenance and support of the contract management system. Also with me today is Ryan McCarricker, who is our team lead and resident expert on all things CMS, and James Brower, who has been the implementation lead for the engineering specific functionality. Just a few key messages before I hand it over. So implementing contract management system for engineering is a significant change to the way we've done business at MTO. It will help us enhance collaboration, data management, reporting, and transparency. So there are a ton of benefits for using a project management system like this. That being said, change is not easy. It is a learning curve for everyone, and it will take some time, like all things, to get up to speed and really understand what we're in with the system. But the benefits do outweigh the pain points, and having engineering on the same platform as our construction contracts will also create a variety of benefits for users. So I just wanted to also point out that this is a transition again, and it's not intended to be 100% complete right off the start. We will have opportunity to make improvements and add additional functionality as we progress with the system over time. So we really do value and appreciate your feedback and comments as we go through the session. That being said, we designed the system to cover most of the basic functionality that you'll need for engineering contracts, but that's not to say that 100% of every feature or aspect of the business is fully integrated into the system. Engineering contracts can be very detailed, and we know there's a lot of business processes, and we didn't want to try to get everything right off the start. But I think you'll find that between our applications that are available and our robust file manager application, there really is a lot of functionality that we can achieve in the system. And that being said, the expectation that has been provided within the ministry is that we will use the available functionality to the fullest extent possible to get the most benefit out of the system, including tracking deliverables, invoicing, change orders, and etc. So this is something that has been bought into, across the ministry from our senior management teams all the way through. So we do ask for that commitment. So thank you. Okay, just a couple of housekeeping items here as far as the session goes today. Please use the chat or raise your hand in Teams to submit a question. You can do that at any time. We'll try to answer some of the questions in the chat, but we'll also take time after each sort of section to review the questions, and then we'll have access to the questions after the session as well, and can address any that we may not have got to. While Ryan and James are speaking, if you can just keep your mic on mute unless asking a question, just to ensure with so many people on the line, it makes it a lot easier to keep the flow of the session going. Anyway, that's just a slide there. And just in general, some objectives for today. Really, it is just general use training. So it will cover all the basic functionality and then the specific engineering applications used in the system. So we'll go through some slides for each of the different apps, and then we'll also do a demonstration live in the system. And again, we'll have some time at the end for questions and answers. So with that, I'll say again, once again, thank you for those that have already been using the system, and thank you for attending the session today. And I'll turn it over to Ryan to walk you through the agenda.
Thank you, Jamie. I'll steal the screen here. I just have a couple slides, and then James is going to take us through some introductory or some general functionality stuff here. Pop this down here. There we go. So we're going to talk about user management real quick, how people get signed up to the system, how that works, how you gain access, general functionality, so how you navigate the system, find projects, find different apps, your personal settings, stuff like that. Project setup we'll touch on. We won't go too into detail on project setup because we do separate training with the ESTs who are actually setting up your projects for you. So we'll touch on that. Meeting Minutes is a pretty decent app. It's out of the box. James is going to take you through Meeting Minutes, File Manager, and then I'm going to take you through Submittals, Change Management, and Invoices. And then James will take you through Engineering Performance Appraisals and the Milestone application. We will stop for questions at the end of each module. So if you have any questions, just hold them until the end of the module. We won't make you wait till the end of the presentation. But it's going to be kind of a cyclical presentation. We kind of go through some slides explaining the theory and the design behind the app, and then we do a demo of the app, and then we take any questions on the app, and we just kind of go around in circles like that. So it might seem a little like a lot of information coming at you, but we try and structure it that way to be repetitive and hopefully sink in a little better. So with that, sorry, just a couple slides for me. James is going to take over and take you through a few agenda items here.
Thanks, Ryan. Can you see my screen there?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so I'll be starting by going over user management. So user management piece in CMS, this is where we get users set up in the system. So first we have contact creation. So for this, the EST in your region will send you a Kahua invite to become a contact in CMS. Upon accepting that invite, the EST then can add you to the users app within the users application. And then you have to accept a task within CMS at that point. And then following that, the EST can assign you into the groups application, which sets your permissions to a particular assignment in CMS. So just go over each one of those in detail on the next slide here. So first, creating contact in CMS. So MTO does all the onboarding into CMS. So invitations are sent by email to you. So the email looks like the one on the right of the screen here. It'll originate from outbox@kahua.com. So to be sure to check your email for that, that email. It might land in your junk mail, so check there too. So the first person that is registered from a company becomes the domain administrator for that company. So many companies choose an admin to be that person for them. There's no real task for this this function. It's more just keeping an eye on who's coming and going from your company. So if someone's leaving the company, you can go into contacts and remove them from your company. And then also email CMS or mtocms@ontario.ca. so that we know that they're removed as well. So once we have that first person from a company in the system, then we can add the remaining users afterwards. Go to the next slide. So adding the users to the user application. So once you accept your invitation, you become a registered contact within CMS. So MTO will receive an email that you have registered, and then we'll add you to the users application. Once you're added, you'll have to accept the task that pops up in the top right of your screen. So you'll have in CMS, you have a clipboard, an envelope, and your name with your initials. If you have that red dot, it just means that there's something in there for you. So when you first log in, you'll see that there's a red dot. You can click on there and you can accept that task. Okay, so this is the permissions group. So when you're in the system, you'll be placed in a contract. So you won't have system-wide access. You'll just be specified to that particular contract. At the start or after award, you'll be sent an enrollment form. At the start of your assignment, asking who will be accessing CMS for that assignment and what role they require. So you can see here there's two roles for external. We have the engineering consultant PM and the engineering consultant designer. So each carries different permissions and views the system slightly differently. The main difference here is the consultant PM can see the invoices and change management, and the consultant designer cannot. So this completes the user setup in CMS. We went through that quick, but next we'll go through the CMS general functionality. We'll be navigating the platform, how to adjust and change your own personal settings, how to navigate and create new or edit a standard record. And we'll look at working within the hierarchy of projects and contracts. We'll have communications, and then we'll look at the tasks within the system. So first thing to note is the platform here is internet-based, so you can access it through a browser or a desktop app. And it's also mobile, so you can use your phone to access as well. And there's also a desktop version, so you can access it that way. It allows you to connect to the network there. I'll be using the browser today when I go through it. You can see here at the bottom, there's launch.kahoot.com, so that's our production environment. I'll be working in the development site today, so it looks a little slightly different, but it's fairly similar, just the data's, of course, test data. And then again, we have our mobile options, so you have iOS and Android. Go to the next screen. So for MTO internal users, when you log in, your screen is going to look like this. Pretty standard. Within administry, we have the SSO, so makes login simplified. Go to the next slide here. So this is the multi-factor authentication for external users. So that's anybody non-MTO. So we do have this multi-factor authentication. It came into effect February 10th. There's no ability to opt out of it. And then there's some links here, hyperlinks so you can click on later on that kind of go into more detail on what's involved or if you have anything, any issues with that. Right, go to the next slide here. So we have projects overview. So when you log in, it'll open up to this page. And this is going to give you an overview of your tasks, of your messages, and any of your projects that you've been into. Some things to note here is one of the things is your personal tasks can also be accessed by the clipboard up top. And beside that, there's an envelope icon again, which we mentioned. So that's your messages. And then again, the red colored notification is just that there's some something actionable for you to click on. Slide. So this is the CMS application. So on the left, you have your apps and a number of other saved apps that we have in the system. So you can open that up. It'll give you a whole host of apps that we have within the system. Not all of these are used for engineering. Some are construction as well. The next slide here. So this is our personal tasks. So again, you click on the top right on your clipboard there. You'll see all your active tasks. You can actually see the closed out tasks too if you drop down and see the ones that you've completed already. It'll show you there who it was from, the subject, the project that it references, the app that it's coming from, the date it was assigned, and then also if there was a due date for that specific application, then it goes through there. Just click the wrong slide. So go back there. All right, so next we'll go to messages. So this is what your messages looks like. Again, you click that envelope on the top right of your screen. Messages just like your email and Outlook, sorry. You'll get a message and it sort of gives you some details, who it's from, who it's to, if there's anybody CC'd on it. To give you the subject line, a lot of times you'll see a record number. So this example here is showing an EPA, which stands for the Engineering Performance Appraisal. And then you can see the message there that it's telling you what's happening. And then a lot of times you'll see an opening Kahua in blue. So this will let you click on that, and then you can go to the related app and a record, and it'll bring you right there. So next we'll go to the personal settings. So again, it's in the top right. You have your initials, and that will bring up this page for you. So here you're able to change your email settings. So for instance, you can forward all your email or messages to your Outlook email, and then you can receive a copy instantly, or you can send summaries and you get weekly copies of all your emails and notifications. And then you can set times for that too, exact time you want that sent to you. I'll go through the profiles and signatures later on in the demo. Just to touch on the out of office feature here, that allows you to delegate your tasks to someone else during your absence. So you're only able to delegate tasks to people would have the same access and or permissions as you. So if you're a PM, you can assign to another PM. If you're an area manager, you'd have to assign to another area manager, not a lower role. Go to the next slide here. Okay, so this is just a summary of the personal settings. So you can configure the summaries the system sends to you as much or as little as you would like, as shown earlier. Okay, so this is the CMS projects and contract hierarchy. So this is the file structure. We have the Ontario Ministry of Transportation domain. All of our projects will be in the Transportation Infrastructure Management Division. So the TMD folders, and you'll see that there's 6 projects in there. So that's all the different regions that we have. And then you can access your specific project from there. And again, I'll cover that in the demo. Go to the demo here. My other screen. Okay, so when we first log into Kahua, you'll see the project's overview page. So this again gives you your tasks, your unread messages, the projects that you've been working on. If you press Control on your keyboard and just scroll with your mouse, it zooms in and out. Again, there's beside the Kahua logo, there's a little arrow. You can click that to make the screen full screen or larger for you. Okay, so now we'll go into apps. So that's in the top left corner. So click on that. So your recent apps will show up. Typically, your recent apps will show up right away. If you want to see all your apps, you can click all apps. And you can also use this little toggle below here to make it for the full page width, so you can see all the apps that you're that you have access to. At the top, you'll have a magnifying glass. So if you wanted to search for an app that you don't see listed there, like invoices, for instance, the invoices will show up, and it didn't show up because that's part of the contract management suite. So you can go into that. And then that'll bring you your contract management. We'll just go back to apps here. Second. I think that covers the apps portion. Okay, so now we'll go into our settings. So again, that's your initials, typically in the top right of the screen. So you click on that, you go to My Settings, which is the first one on your dropdown. So this brings us to our general settings. So here are the messages options that you can copy things to your email, then you can get them immediately sent, get the summaries too. You can even have a summary, although you don't have any new tasks. It'll just show that there's nothing waiting on you. If you go into profiles, so this is where you can add your name, middle name, your last name, your company should be in there already, but you can add in anything you see listed here, even your social networks if you want, your title. Next, we'll go into signature. So here you can upload a digital signature. You can put your signature block in there. I have mine filled out, but you can always go in there and add credentials to it if you want. You can, if you're a PN or something, you can throw that in there. For your signature image, you just click the add image, and then you find what you've saved, and then of course you can put your PIN number in. So that way, when something comes up, when you're asked to sign a document, you'll be able to enter in your PIN. And just like a password, it allows for your digital signature within the system, which also counts as a legally binding document. All right, next we'll go to the out of office. So here you can use the delegation feature. So you can click on that. You can say when you're going to be gone. There's a drop down who you can delegate to. So again, be certain of who you want to delegate it to. You can delegate it to the whole system. So make sure that it's the appropriate person there. And then you can also notify the originator that the task was delegated, just so that person knows that it's been assigned to somebody else. Okay, so now I will exit the screen, and you'll notice when we click exit, it's going to give us a little pop-up error. So this always happens when we have unsaved changes. So just click cancel for now. You'll see the little yellow star beside out of office. So wherever you have something opened, that will let you know basically that it's not saved yet. So we'll get out of this screen. Click OK. Okay, so now we'll go into the Ontario Ministry of Transportation domain in our project finder. So click on project finder, and then to get to the very highest level within CMS, you click on the blue house down below all projects. This will show you our domain, Ontario Ministry of Transportation. You may also have a domain for your company. Again, all the MTO projects that you have will be underneath the Ontario Ministry of Transportation. So I'll open that up, and I'll open it again. Make sure I'm in there. I'm going to go to the Transportation Infrastructure Management Division. There's 6 or 7 in here. Pick your region. So the test project I'm all working today will be the West region. So I can open that up. Right here. So this will open up all the contracts that you can see within West region. So I can click on the training demo contract. So before I go into it, you'll notice when we look at that project, there's a little star that's filled in blue. So this just means that I've saved that as one of my projects. So when you click any of the stars, it gets listed for you in your My Projects, so you can easily find them instead of going through the whole list of contracts within your region. Another thing helpful too is the recent projects. So anything that you've opened up recently is also going to show up for you there, so you can see your recent projects, find it quickly that way. All right, so I'll go into the training demo contract now. And just to show some system functionality, I'll just go into one of the apps. So I'll type in Milestones. Take a look at the Milestones app quickly. So right off the top here, you can see that we have new, export, import, all these blue buttons or white text within the blue box. Any one of these you can click on and it'll open up something actionable for you to do. So I'll click new here. And that will open up this page for us. It's a new record. So we have a record number. If you want, you can change these numbers. Just edit it as you would like. Then you can put a description for your milestone. Spell. You can now put your notes in here. There's lots of room for text, so you can put as much as you would like into there. Whenever you need to put dates into one of the apps, you'll have a calendar, so you can actually choose what date you want. Another thing you can do is just type in the actual numbers on your keyboard. So if you wanted the same date, you just type in 02, 25, 26 on your keyboard. And then that will populate for that way too. It's just a little quick way to enter dates. So for this one here, we'll have milestones. So you have predecessors. So there's a drop down, so you can select any of the previous milestones that you've had. And then down below, we'll have references. So here you can upload a document. You just click upload, and then you can go into any one of your files and upload that just by selecting it, and it goes into Kahoot! That way. Sometimes you'll have an insert button, so you'll see a blue insert button, and then that will give you a line, a new line below, which will have a couple text boxes that you can add things that way as well. Okay, so just before I close this, I did use this button here. It's right beside the X in the top right corner. So that just maximizes that page for you. So you can see that full screen. You also notice below that one, we have it's open items when you click over it. If it says 2, that means you have 2 open. So you can actually toggle between the 2. Again, we have the yellow star, so that just means that we haven't saved anything. So I'll save and close that now. Then you see that pops up for you. List here, the one that we just created, the demo milestone. So I think that's it for the general functionality. So I'll jump back into the slide here. Is there any questions about general functionality? See any? Yeah. All right, so we'll jump into meeting minutes now. So yeah, we'll look at the meeting minutes. This is a standard feature in Kahoot! We've modified it slightly, but it's still fairly out of the box functionality. So I'll demonstrate how that works as well. Okay, so hopefully you can see this. It's probably a little bit small for you, but within meeting minutes, we have the details. So that's the top screen here. There's basically 4 headings when you open up meeting minutes. So you have your details, your attendees and meeting items, and then action items. So this first one is just a screenshot of the details. So you can fill in all those details there. And then here you can create or add in all your list of attendees so you can see your contacts there. And then you can add in your meeting items. So whatever you need to add for your meeting. And then you can actually create tasks within the app to assign somebody a responsibility or a task from that meeting minute, from the action items. Jump into the demo for meeting minutes. Okay, so similar to Milestones, again, we'll go back up into the apps here. We'll type in meeting minutes. Bring us to our meeting minutes. Again, you'll notice on the side here, I can't remember if I mentioned it yet. There's 3 little dots beside any one of these. So I have this one pinned already. You'll see the little pin on there. So it'll say with these ellipses, usually it'll say pin to launch bar. Now it says unpin, but typically if you want to, if it's an app that you go into quite often, you can click on pin to launch bar and keep it there on your left, just for easy access. Okay, so for adding new meeting minutes to the app, I'll click on new. And we can add in our subject. So demo meeting. There's a couple drop downs here we can choose. So we're engineering, so we'll click engineering as the contract type. Then we have another type, so we can specify what kind of meeting this is. So it's internal. And we have our it's a time picker actually, so you can do AM or PM, and then pick the time. So we'll just put in 9 o'clock here. Then we'll put in end time. Just add in the end time for an hour. Put our location. So I'm out of St. Catharines today, so I can put in St. Catharines. We have our meeting URL. So within here, we can actually copy and paste something from our your Teams meeting. So if you have a Teams meeting, let's see if I can pull mine up here. Okay, so if we have a Teams meeting that you've set up, you can go into here, you can copy the hyperlink. All right. Screens. Okay, and then you can just copy and paste that into here, click on add, and then that will be saved for you there. A little feature too, if you don't want that huge long URL, you can click the little pencil there, and you can shorten the title to something else, like Teams link, for instance. And click OK. That saves it so they can click on that link. So for meeting notes, you can put in your agenda here if you want. Again, you can put lots of text in here. It goes on quite a bit of lots of space there to put that in. Put your meeting chair, your distribution list. Later on, you can add any attachments if you want to add in the meeting minutes. You can throw those in there, or you can throw the agenda in there too. We have the attendees. So in here, you can just insert. I mentioned it before. When you click insert, it starts a new line. So you can just add anybody from system. I'll just add myself here. And then once the meeting's done, you can write in here if they're present or not, absent, not reported. And then the attendee notes, like if there's somebody with it not in the system, you can just add their name in here in the notes. Then there's meeting items. So you can click on meeting items. Again, you can click in insert and add in items as you need. So, if item, again, a lot of times within the system, you'll see this, it's a box with an arrow going out of it. That just means you can expand that so you can see it on full screen. So here you can see all the options you have for your new meeting item. So you can change the type to from new business to old business or vice versa, and you can categorize it as well. Depending on what the item is. Then you can save and close that. Then you'll notice that it saves at the top here. So we have our demo meeting, so I can open that back up again. I can add in all the attendees again. If I didn't, once the meeting's closed, you can add in your meeting minutes. You can update your attendance. And if there was any action items that are required, you can always go into an item by expanding it. Click action items in the far right. Before you do that, though, you got to click edit. So if you can't do something, usually that's why. Just click the edit. Now we go back into our action item or into our items. Expand that bigger. And then we can go into our action items, insert an actionable item, and assign it to a user here. And I'll just assign it to myself. Larger so we can see it. And then create a task. So I'll get a task, and then I can put a status. So it's not started yet. Then I can actually open this up further. Some of these items, there's a magnifying glass with a text with paper behind it. So you can click on that and actually open it up further to see all the details within there. You can see you can actually upload documents here and put in some more information in there once it's completed. Click done. Blue box, the top right. That's that. Done again. And I will save and close. And then I can also close and distribute that. So that'll go to everybody that's within our attendees. And you'll notice here, I also got a new task notification. So that just means I have an action item. So you can click on a new task once you receive it, and then you can add in that information. It'll show up in your tasks. So that'll open up for you. But then you can update that. You can mark as complete once you've completed whatever was requested. Just click on mark complete. It'll ask you if you're sure. You click OK. And then we'll go back into the meeting minutes. Look at that item. It should show as complete now. I can agree complete. That will be finalized. So that is the meeting minutes application. I think I covered most things off there. Yeah, we can close and distribute now. That will show us closed top. And then if you do want to create a new meeting with, and you have a lot of the same information, you can always click copy and then create new, so you don't have to redo a lot of the text that you've added there. Right, so go back to the slideshow. Questions, we'll pass it over to Ryan.
Thank you, James. Steal the screen again here. Good questions coming in. That's good. So the design issues tracker and the project construction report. We call it DIT and PCR in the system. We work with Mike Pearsall's group. I guess it was almost a couple of years ago now, to develop this. So the project construction report is construction's version of the DIT, basically. The two items stand to serve the same purpose, which is basically a report on how the project went. Lessons learned, milestones, issues, issue mitigations, all that kind of stuff. So we decided to combine it because the project goes from engineering to construction, and now so does the DIT and the PCR. It starts in design and it gets filled out with all the issues and the different lessons learned and whatever you encounter along the road in the design phase of the project. And then when it's done, it goes through a workflow approval in engineering and then goes to construction. And construction now has the knowledge that engineering has of the project's design phase in that report, so they can build upon it for their project construction report. I believe there's more business kind of working in the background on PCRs and DITs, so you might hear more about it in the future, but for now, that's how it works in CMS. So it's designed to capture issues on the project in conjunction with the PO group. We designed it. It automatically pulls in contract data like dates and change requests and change orders and stuff too, so you don't have to manually transcribe and go through your project and transfer everything over to the DIT. It pulls it all in automatically for you. You can create issues and milestones within it, and then there's certain categories for the issues types that is available in a drop-down. This, of course, with the drop-down style of intaking data allows us to control the data better. We get better data quality, and then we can run reports. So we can run a report and identify trends on issues that we're encountering in the design phase because of our DITs. This is somewhat for construction's PCR, but also relevant for the DIT. These are assistance notes at the top of the DIT app. These are mandatory to be added to the DIT, and then these are optional to be added. When I say added, I'm talking about the distribution list. The distribution list is like carbon copying someone on the record itself. They get email notifications when the record makes a workflow change or when an action is taken on the record. And so these people are therefore made aware of what's happening with the DIT as it's going through its workflow approval stage. When the design project is complete, the DIT is finalized and circulated for approval. So it goes through the PM, the area manager of engineering, and then the head of engineering for approval. And then the distribution list, as I mentioned, gets notified of those workflow steps as well. This is the workflow for a DIT and PCR. You can see here it starts either in construction or engineering. So construction can start their own PCR in isolation of a DIT if it doesn't exist, or the DIT can be initiated by the PMPERA. So that's a permission group, the project manager, project engineer, or retainer administrator. It goes through to complete the DIT and PCR, then it goes to the area manager of engineering for review, then the head of engineering, and then it goes submitted to construction, and it goes to the construction contract. And then the construction field team does basically the same thing. They record their lessons learned, their milestones, their issues that they encounter on the project, and then push it through their own approval stage up to the manager of construction for review. I'll give a quick demo of that now. These are the group's permissions. Here's our DIT. I'll start a new one here. I can make this full screen down here. So this is engineering training. Oh, can't type today. Spell check in the system too, which is nice. You got your GWP number. And then the design contract. So you choose the design contract, and this is how the system is going to pull in all the engineering stuff. You probably don't know the construction contract at the time and the CA contract. This is for the PCR version of it when it gets passed to construction. So the highway that's being designed and the description of it, or the location, I should say, here. So it pulls from the roster role. The roster roles are the players in the contract. So if you go up here and click on the little eye with the circle, and come down here. These are the people assigned to your project. So it's all my name right now because this is a testing project of mine. But when the system says, okay, I need to send something to the area manager of engineering. Okay, there's whatever, 12 area managers in the province or however many there are. How do I know which one to send it to? It sends it to this roster role. There can only be one area manager on the project. And so that's how the system knows it gets sent there. And that's where these are pulling the rosters, the people from, they're pulling them from the roster roles. And then it'll do so the same for the construction when it goes there. Here's that assistance note that I had in the slideshow. So please ensure the following mandatory contacts are added, and this is the distribution list. So you can pull up your distribution list there. You can add multiple people to it, and you can just build that out and they'll all get notified. So for you folks, this defaults to design, but you say what sort of DIT or PCR this is. So is it a design phase or is it a construction phase? We'll keep this in design phase. It's created by me. A lot of this will update once I save. And then here's your issues milestone. So what's the subject of your issue? Then your issue type, you can remember that list I had in the slideshow there. So we'll call it materials, description, no materials to build, action item, get more materials, buy more materials. Delivery year, program year, and then this is where it starts to automate a little bit, the number of approved change requests, number of open change requests, and change orders. You can upload documentation here. And then we get into the construction contract stuff. So this is mostly the DIT up top here. It's mostly in your issues and milestones. You can add as many lines as you want. You can add 5 lines by just typing in 5 there, and it'll insert 5. Then you can get rid of them too. It's going to make me fill out all these. Now I'll hit save, and we'll auto-populate some of these change order, change requests fields. Make this big again. There you have, I have 4 change requests totaling 85,000. Number of open is 1 with a value of 0 apparently. And then change orders, we have 3 totaling $110,100. Once it's done, it goes through the delivery year and delivery program I needed. So there's validations on those. Submit that. Yep. And then it goes through review. So I won't go through the whole review process just because it's a lot of clicking submit and reviewed. But that is the DIT PCR process. Is there any questions on that? There's a little task notification here. That'll be the area manager getting a task notification that the DIT submitted to them. Oh, back to James for file manager.
Okay. Share the screen here. Oops. Okay, here, sorry about that. All right, so next is file manager. So this is a place to store project files. There are permissions, so you can have security and subfolder permissions related to certain objects or items that are stored in within the CMS applications. So now we have this file manager set up. It's just for internal MTO files. It's not open to service providers. So I'll go through here. So File Manager is very similar to Microsoft File Explorer on your computer. The folder template was developed by the same team who have helped with the development of the other CMS applications. So we standardized and took multiple regions file folder standards and sort of created a provincial hybrid, in part for auditability related to the Auditor General's report. That being said, you're still able to customize folders and create new folders within there. And again, it's just like creating new folders in Windows. So now I'll jump to a quick demo on this. Okay. Open up File Manager. Again, I have it pinned. If you want to find it on the top there, you can search your apps and do it that way as well. But we'll just go through here since it's open. Again, so now you'll see your default information that you have for your engineering contracts. So you have project info, contract submissions. So this is where documents can be submitted if they aren't submitted directly through the Submittals app, which I think we'll go through later. So some things are pre-system, like consultant file. So there is always ways to permission these folders, so we can look at the permissions of any of these files. Just right click again, properties, and then you can see the permissions tab on there. And you can access the levels from there. Yeah, if you want to create a new folder too, again, you have that white text around the blue circle, so you, or box, so you can just create folder and new folder name in there. Want to keep it consistent with the numbering, just put 7 and then folder and okay. And then you can make subsequent ones as well. Looks like I had one folder open, so I can drag and drop it, or maybe I'll have to delete it and rename it underneath 7. So it's important when you're adding it that you add it below 6 there. And then to add files, again, you can select the file you want it into and you just click add files. And it'll pull up anything in you want to upload. So you can just do supporting document, open that up. You can notify somebody about it, the submission. You can add comments too for them, and then just click OK. And then that will show up for you there. So that pretty much covers File Manager. Over back to you, Ryan.
I think so, yeah. We didn't plan that well, huh?
All right.
Submittals. So this is a big one for the engineering group. This is going to be your bread and butter as far as what you're using in the system, I think. Submittals is used to intake deliverables from the service provider. It's used to distribute those deliverables amongst the reviewers, the functional offices, the experts, whoever needs to review them. You can solicit comments back from the reviewers, and you dispose a rating that ties into the engineering performance appraisal app that ends up rating the service provider based on the deliverables that they're submitting. So it's a large app that's mostly out of the box, except for the piece of the rating that we've configured into it. So we developed it in consultation with service providers and the MTO, and it's used to basically mirror the submission schedule of the RFQ or P and intake deliverables from the service provider. So it's set up in 2 kind of tabs. There's submittal packages and submittal items. A package is a collection of items. So you set up a package. You can define how many items are within it. You can add items to it if you don't add enough in the first place. And then the MTO project manager sets up the submittal package and the items, and then the service provider submits documents through those items. in the appropriate package. There's lots of reporting available on the package as well, or on submittal packages in general, with turnaround times and dates and tracking and all that good stuff. So it's it'll likely be a heavily used app. This is the reviewers that you can add. So I mentioned you can add reviewers here. You see this toggle up here, you can do a sequential review. So if you toggle that, it will go from Arthur to James to Olivia. If you do all, or if you don't choose that, it'll just go to all 4 of them at once, and they can all review and send back their comments at once. The submittal items here, you can see this is where you add submittal items. You insert your submittal items. You can choose a scheduled date for them. This plays into the reporting. So if you schedule that a date or that a deliverable is due on a certain date based on this date, that's what the report is going to pull in and display latency figure based on how late something is or how early something was, because it's also going to track the submitted date here. The submittal item is here. It's a hyperlink, so you can click on these and go to them. And then it's also going to capture the submittal dates and the close dates and the review date of each individual submittal item. Activities. So navigate to the submittal items app and click new. So that's pretty easy. I'll show that in the demo. I won't go through too much of this stuff here. But you can see here the submittal package. So when you fire up a submittal item, so if the service provider goes to submit something into the ministry, they would fire up a submittal item under the appropriate package, choose the package there, and then submit it. And it comes in, the PM gets a notification, and then they can initiate the review based on their reviewers. You can also upload supporting documentation. There's actually a toggle to make sure that you've attached something, because the whole point of the Submittals app is to transfer attachments, basically. It's a workflow enabled repository is what it is. So you have to check all required documents have been attached in order to submit it. There's a validation to make sure you check that box. We can't tell what you've submitted if it's the right thing or not, but it can tell that there are attachments there or not. So excuse me. This is your task. Oh, this is a submittal item here. No, this is your task. So this is showing up in your task list here. You are a reviewer, so the task comes to you. You can go up, you can see, you can see 5 outstanding, 4 commendable performance. So it's got the rating piece just below there. I'll show that in a minute. Let's get into the demo. So we search submittals, there's package submittals. I'm going to start a new one here. Call it 60% review as per the RFP. The submittal coordinator should always be the PM on the job. Whoever's managing the project for the ministry should be the coordinator, unless for some reason you're setting this up for somebody else. But likely, I think it would typically be the PM who would want to be controlling the submissions and the ratings and all that good stuff. And then the submitter is going to be the service provider. So whoever the PM from the service provider is going to be the submitter. And then your distribution list here, you might want to put your area manager or anybody else who might be interested. Say it's like a structural submission. You could put your structural rep on there. So they get notified when it comes in. They'll get a notification, like a task notification, when the review is initiated, because they would be listed as a reviewer, but it's still nice for them to know when it comes in, so you can always add them there. You can add a priority to it. This is kind of an out-of-the-box feature, so if it's a rush job or something like that, you can add a priority to it. Here's the reviewers section. I'll make this big again. So this, again, I was talking about the sequential review. So you add lines here. You can add your contact. Just gonna add myself for now. And it could be a sequential review or an all-at-once review. Once I save, I'll be able to add submittal items and then attachments. So here we have an URL. We understand there can sometimes be very large attachments to be transmitted through submittals. I'm looking at geomatics right now. So, and maybe project delivery too has some large AutoCAD files. So you can enter an URL to an FTP site or a shared location there, and where the files can be viewed and maybe downloaded from. But there is a file limit. I can't remember. I think it's 6 gigabytes file limit in Kahua. So we would be limited by a lot of those large files, especially like folks in geomatics. That was an early concern with them when we were developing this. So we added this here. Save this up here. Now you can see I don't have any submittal items. So I'll go back and edit. I'll add 3 items here. Item 1, 2, and 3. I'll make this bigger. I can schedule their dates tomorrow, the next day, and the next day. You can see how many revisions there are too. So if it's sent back to the service provider and sent back in, the revision will tally up 1. So you can keep track of how many times it's gone back and forth. So those are my items. So this is package number 6 called 60% review. Now we'll flip over to the submittal items. So now I'm the service provider. I want to submit my 60% complete package. I'll call it my 60% complete package. I'll describe what the package is. And then the submittal package, I choose my number 6, 60% review. The contract is right. And then once I save, the submittal coordinator and this stuff will fill in. There it is. Nothing on the distribution list. I go back into edit. Go to upload here. Got a PDF. I'll go all required documents have been attached. That tells the system that I can submit this now. If I don't, please confirm all required documents have been attached by selecting the checkbox in the attachments section. So it's just making sure you're not submitting a blank submittal, because the only point of it is to transfer documents. So ball in court now is with Ryan. Ball in court means whoever it's sitting with, and the status is in review. So if I go back to my submittal packages now, there's my notification for it. Oh, sorry, I want to look at items. So I got to 06, 04, 60% complete package. It's in review. You see I have initiate review button here now, or reject. If this is an incomplete or not up to snuff submission, I can just reject it right off the hop. And that would constitute an uptick in the revision counter. And once they submit something back in, it would be revision 1. The distribution list is always editable too. So if someone missed something, you can always add them to it. I'm just going to initiate my review, which is going to send this to me for review. Should have a task now. There's my task. So I check my clipboard up here. Here's my task. It's for a submittal item. Here's my DIT and PCR task that I just did in the last demo here. So I click on this. I should be able to complete it right from the task itself. Here's my comments. So click this arrow bigger, like James was mentioning. You can always have lots of room for comments. And then you can upload anything too. So what you could do is download the document, mark it up, and upload it. There are markup tools in CMS as well, where you can mark up PDFs with like your mouse. But if you want to download the document, print it out, mark it up, scan it back in, whatever you want, you can upload it and send it back to the service provider. Otherwise, I will just click done here. There's my comments. And I will submit these. Go back to my DIT and PCR. Oh, sorry, submittal packages. I was like, where's my tabs? So here, So now it's either reviewed or reviewed as noted. You can see my rating is mandatory. So reviewed as noted is if there's comments that come back from your reviewers, you can still reject it based on your reviewers' comments, or you can just mark it as reviewed. So I'll say I did an outstanding job with that, and I'll mark reviewed, and now it's done. So you can see this package is done, or this item is done. This item is done, item 1 in package 5. So that's how submittals work. Is there any questions on submittals? I know there's a lot in the chat. You're welcome to unmute and ask a question for the group too, if you like. Oh, looks like we're going to take a quick break. 10:10, you want to come back at 10:25? We can start again. There we go. See everyone in 15 minutes. All right, folks, 10:26, we'll get going again. Going to get into something else that's probably meat and potatoes for engineering or for any contracts is change management. So we're talking about change orders here and change requests, but mostly change management, like change orders. Pop this out. So this is the workflow for a change order. A change order can either be created internally by the PMPERA or externally through a change request from the service provider. So it can come in from the service provider and then spur a change request if it's approved. It goes to change initiation. So change initiation is your internal work environment to build the change order. It's where you define the basis of payments, the items, you add the items, the quantity, the value, the description of the change order, the supporting documentation. It's where you get DOFMA approval. So it circulates for DOFMA approval in the system. Remember, the signatures are legal, so the DOFMA approval obtained in the system is approved. You don't need to use e-approvals to circulate change order documents or anything like that. It's fully approved within the environment of CMS. You can cancel an initiation if you find you don't need it, or you can create a change order out of it. So you can only create a change order once DOFMA is approved, once it's circulated up to the appropriate level, based on the absolute and financial value of the change to the contract. So you create a change order out of that. The change order goes to the service provider and solicits an estimate, comes back in, and then the price agreement is issued. So the basis of payments, we have 4 bases of payments, understanding there's typically only 2 bases of payments for engineering assignments, but in order to functionally achieve what we needed to do in the system, there needs to be 4. We had to separate the 1 and 2 into 3 and 4. So you have lump sum payment covering all direct and indirect costs for new items or for existing items. So you can either create a new item on the contract or edit or adjust the value of an existing item, or by variation of item quantities as defined in the agreement for new items or existing items. So you can add quantities depending on the setup of your contract, or you can adjust the quantities of your items in the contract. The change order categories are required. So you have to categorize your change and you have to provide a comment as to what the category of the change is. The comment helps contextualize the change. We use this to, again, identify trends when we pull reports on change orders. We can see how many categories of us or how many change orders of a certain category are being executed on in a region or in the province or whatever it is, and we can identify, oh, we're doing a lot of change orders for this, maybe we need to focus on this. So you choose the category based on a pop-up window that pops up when you click a link, and then you dispose a mandatory comment against the category and then move on building your change order. This is the change management. So change management is kind of just a shell that helps you initiate the process, helps you title the change order or the change management item, and then it carries through to the change initiation, then the change order, then the price agreement. When you create a change order, you have to choose who the service provider is, so make sure you're choosing the PM of the service provider that you're working with, that you're issuing the change order to. And then you can see here the status shows what the status of the change initiation or change order is, when it was created, who it was created by, and who the ball and court is with. Ball and court, again, is who the item is with for an action. So you create the change order out of the change initiation. So once you've got all your supporting documentation, your basis of payments, your adjusted values in there, or your quantity for the C and D basis of payments, you add your values to it, your supporting documentation, and then circulate it for DOFMA approval. Once you've got DOFMA approval, you create the change order. That's as easy as clicking create change order once you complete the DOFMA process. So issue change order button, these buttons are on the top now. They've moved around a little bit. We haven't updated our slides yet. The DOA and estimate summary section, this is handy here. This lets you know what you're approved for and what the value of the change order is. So this shows that there's a DOFMA approved change of 4,800 net and 14,800 absolute value. And the total value of the change order right now is 0. Once the service provider puts their estimate in there, that will be the value of the change order. And this will either say it's required because it's higher, or it's approved still because it's lower. And then the PM has the option to adjust the price agreement value based on the estimates of both their internal estimate and the service provider's estimate. So the service provider will receive a change order task in their task list. They have to submit their estimate. So they're going to tumble down to the same place that you input your estimates. So where you input, can I go backwards? Yeah, where you input here, the quantity or the adjusted quantity or the value or the total here for a new item, those are the same fields that the service provider is going to enter into. When you create the change order wipes these values. It stores them still in your estimate, but we don't want to send our estimate to the service provider. We want this to be a blank change order, soliciting an estimate from them. So they fill in the same location, they submit their estimate, and it comes back to the PMPERA. So this is the service provider's estimate now. You can see we're in the change order app. We see that they want a price for $100 here, $1,000 here, and $1,000 here. We can either agree with this or revise it, or issue price agreement. So you can see here the DOA and estimate summary section. The service provider only came in with 3,000, so that's below what we have approved for. So the DOFMA is still approved, so that's good. We can issue the price agreement, and if we issue now, after the service provider submits their estimate, it's going to be for the values that the service provider inputted, because they inputted and kind of overwrote your values. That is the estimate. If you disagree with their estimate and you want to change it, you simply click revise, and then go into edit, and you can change the fields that they input back to your numbers or somewhere in between, or lower or higher. If their estimate comes in higher and you find it's correct, you can recirculate the change order for DOFMA approval and get approval for that elevated value now. So you can do that within the system too. On the change order, you don't have to go back to the change initiation and reissue the change order. The change order itself can garner new DOFMA approval. So this is when the price agreement is sent to the service provider. They've got a few options here. They can request a revision if there's a mistake made or something. It can go back and forth between the PM and the service provider. They can accept it, or they can accept undisputed amount. Accept undisputed amount. This came out of construction and we kept it for engineering. If there's a disagreement with the price on the change order, this is sort of a cue to the service provider to say, okay, I'll accept the undisputed amount and endeavor after dispute resolution to get what I feel I'm owed beyond what the price agreement is paying me. The last step is to transact the change. So this is for the PMPERA. Once the service provider accepts the undisputed amount of the price agreement, you've got one action, which is to create transaction. You create the transaction, you save it, and this is putting it onto the contract. This makes the change official. It'll adjust the items, it'll add new items. Whatever you did in the change order will take effect to the system once you create the transaction. Let's go through a change management demo. So I'm in my engineering contract. I start a new change management shell. Like I said, this is just kind of a shell. You title your change for the ends training. Save that. You can add attachments too. I don't know what you'd want to attach, but you can always add attachments here. And then you create your initiation. You just click start processing here. You don't have to worry about anything up here. And then see we move up here from change management to initiation. Now we're in the initiation phase. This is an open draft initiation. I choose my service provider, so make sure you choose the person you're sending the change order to. Here's my categories that I was talking about. I'll expand this. You click link change order categories here, and they open or most relevant, and then provide a comment, contextualize change. So there, that validation is satisfied now. Your change order type is either change in the work or $0 change order. I believe $0 change orders go to the area manager of engineering. There's no DOFMA associated to them, but the area managers wanted to ensure that $0 change orders weren't administered with no ministry oversight, because you can obviously significantly change a contract with a $0 change order. So it came out of construction again, and then we kind of brought that into engineering as well based on feedback from the area managers. Here is your scope of work for the change, your anticipated services and deliverables, I think it is. You can choose a deliverable date if you so choose. And then here's your basis of payments. So let's just add a new item to the contract. Let's say we forgot something or something has come up. We need more field investigator. We need some field investigations now. So you see this lump sum item grid shows up and then it disappears. As I add things, the grids appear and disappear down below. So you can do combinations if you need to. Otherwise, you just insert a line. This is a new item, so you describe your new item and title it here. You can add a contract reference if you want, but it's not mandatory. And then the value of the item. Activity code you can leave blank. The system will auto-populate that. And then any references. So you can link previous change orders, information requests, or instruction notices. These are kind of from construction that we copied over, but change orders, especially if there's a subsequent change order based on an original change order, you can link them together and just create kind of an audit trail there, which is always helpful. Now I'm going to submit this. Okay, so I have my change initiation built. You can see my DOA is required. I don't have any DOA. The value of this initiation is 10,000 based on what I've entered into the grid. I have my categories here. And if I had supporting documentation, I would upload it right here. Or sorry, right here. And I've got this button here, initiate DOFMA. So this is where your PIN code comes in if you're an approver. This is going to go to the head of engineering because that's where DOFMA starts. I'll go here. You see you can recall it too. I clicked a little too quickly there, but if you initiate DOFMA and realize you made a mistake or something, you can recall it and edit it and then reinitiate the DOFMA, but it will start back at the bottom because the item has changed now, so it needs to be re-recommended by the recommenders and approvers. You've got a COACE here that kind of shows you some basic information for what the change is, contract information, value of previous change orders there. Value of this one is 10 grand. I'll just click approve, enter my PIN. And now it's open. So now you can see the DOA status is approved for 10,000 and we should be good to create the change order. I can still edit this. If I realize I missed something, I can edit, change this 10,000 to 20,000 and reinitiate DOFMA again. The system will never let you issue or create a change order if this value of the change order here exceeds the value of the approved DOA. And if this doesn't say approved, then the system won't let you create a change order. So here's my change order. You can see in the top left, I've changed to the change order section now. We're kind of slowly working our way through here. Here's my title. Everything's good, but you see here, this is reset to 0 now because the value of the change order is 0 because the system has wiped this value here. So we don't give our estimate to the service provider. This is where the service provider will type in their estimate. So I just save this. There it is, and I issue change order. I come over here. So now I'm the service provider. So now I just received this change order from the ministry, and I can see, okay, total net value of change is 0. I haven't put in anything yet. I can insert comments here if I want to. Here's a task that's coming to me as the service provider. Here's the description of the new item that we're adding to the contract, and I need to put a value to this. So I'm going to say this is 12,000. I'm going to submit that estimate. I could upload some supporting documentation here if I wanted. You can see the value is now 12,000. You also see I don't see the DOA and estimate summary section because this is a service provider screen, so they don't get to see how high we went for DOFMA. Submit that estimate. You can see here now the value of the change order is 12,000. It's still open. And my DOA status is now required. So I won't be able to issue price agreement with this. See, DOA must be approved before issuing a price agreement. So I have two options. I can either go, you know what, that is the right price. Mine was a little low. I can get new DOFMA, or I can go revise and change it back down to 10,000. So I'm going to change this back down to 10,000. Hopefully they're okay with that.
Hey, Ryan, where are
Yeah.
we putting our estimates in to support these values?
In the change initiation. So here, I'll save this. The service providers are not permissioned to the change initiation app. So that's where you put all your estimates and supporting documentation.
Is the estimate done internally, or is it like an Excel spreadsheet we can attach?
You can attach it.
Is there an option to do it like, right in Kahua, or like do we have to have it as an attachment?
No, it's an attachment. Like most people just do their estimates outside of it. I think, yeah, there wouldn't be a location for you to put an estimate in that wasn't an attachment.
Yeah,
the estimate itself is what you type in here, and then the support for it is what you attach up here in the references section.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. So I'm working on this one. So I've got 10,000, 10,000. As soon as I adjust it back down to 10,000, the DOA status is approved again, and I will issue price agreement. So here's those accept or accept undisputed amount. This is the service provider now seeing, okay, they're only going to give me 10,000 for it. That's fine. I'll accept that. Done and done. You can see the change order is now closed. The status of it is closed. We have one more step to do, and this is a little stutter step. It's kind of annoying. You can't create transaction from the task. What we're presented here in this panel is a task. You have to go to the source record. So you click this little view source record, and then you transact the original record. Here's a transaction. You don't have to change anything in here. It's just all the information that you've just built in the change order. There's the titles, and we just click save. And now it's on the contract. I'll show where it's on the contract in the next module when we do invoicing, but I'll show how you can add that to an invoice. You can see the contract information up here, started at 1.6 million. Now we have 120,100 approved. Remember this morning from the DIT PCR auto aggregation of change orders that it was 110,100. Now it's 120, and the total current contract value is 1.72 million. That's all there is to it. Is there any other questions on change management? Aaron?
Yeah, Ryan, I'm just curious. So if say you needed to change something when you're going to the transaction because you'd made a mistake, say on like a 0 or whatever, can you hit unlock and would that go back to the initial change order, or would that you'd have to create can you, or would you have to delete the transaction and do a different transaction if like to unlock the change order? Because I see it says unlock here, right? So that's why I'm curious about that.
Well, that's because so you can see unlock because I'm a domain administrator, so that's kind of like the ultimate privileges that you have in the system
and that's how you guys delete the transaction, say that we made a mistake on or a change order that was supposed to be changed or something, correct?
Well, that being said, from a business perspective, the only way to change or revise or delete or cancel a change order is another change order as per the change order manual. So if you make a mistake and you don't notice it until the transaction phase, you're going to have to do another change order. You can't edit the existing one because the change order itself is the agreement to change the contract
and then
signed
it's
by yourself and the service provider, and it's locked in. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I understand. Thank you.
All right. Cool.
Hey, Ryan, there's a couple other questions in the chat that you might want to take a peek at.
I'll peek at them. Theo?
Yeah, my question is at the end of an engineering assignment and the consultant has money left over that has not been spent, how will that be, how can that be returned using the change order process?
Well, if there's not money spent on the contract, it means the service provider didn't execute contractual items in exchange for payment for those items. So I think you would just, I guess, reduce the items down to the quantities that they were used for. So if there's a $100,000 item and they only use 50,000 of it, you would change the price of it down to 50,000, making that item 100% complete.
A change order is not required to make that change?
A change order would be required to make that change, yes. That makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Let me check the chat here. When a reviewer wants to edit their comments after submission, oh, okay, that's for submittals. In regards to submittals, can they restrict applies only approved users can. So yeah, as far as submittals, the permission goes, we would not want staff using deliverables that have not been approved as final. So the submittals are permissioned so that only people who would need to use them can see or interact with them. So we do control permissions that way, like construction folks can't see submittals and stuff like that unless they're specifically permissioned to the contract, say for a CMGC or a DB or something like that. But yeah, we can control the permissions and the access. Is there a direct link between file manager and submittals? No, there's not. The submittals app is the repository for submissions, for service provider submissions. They can be sorted and stored in there with the dates of submission and everything. So you don't need to manually transcribe the files from submittals over to file manager. File manager is meant to be more of a catch-all for items that don't go through submittals or don't otherwise have an app for them. Can you still do multiple items in one change order? Yes, you can. Oh, that one's already answered. Do we still need to complete COACE and price agreement files? So you don't need to complete them outside of the system. The COACE is included in the rotation around for DOFMA approval. And it really was a transmittal form in the first place. It's replaced by the digital equivalent in CMS. Historically, we had to create several standard documents for engineering COs that capture all the relevant information. It appears that this information is now duplicated in the mandatory tombstones. Is the intent that we provide the same information in multiple locations, or is the CO paperwork no longer required? No, the CO paperwork wouldn't be required, like outside of CMS, other than like the estimates and the supporting documentation, like we've talked about. So if there's an info note or something like that, that would go into the system as well. We don't have an app for info notes. But as far as filling out a change order form and a price agreement form and a COACE form, that wouldn't be required anymore. Sabina?
Hi, everyone. So I work in Central Region PD, and currently for our change order process, it doesn't go straight to e-approvals. It has to get circulated to area manager, then the head of PD, and then once the head of DPD approves it, then it gets into e-approvals, and then I click it and so forth. It goes up to DOFMA. Is there a way that managers can still circumnavigate this process and then make us do something like submit the documents to them beforehand and then create this? And is there a way we can get them to not do that?
You mean management is making you circulate things outside of the system and then duplicate it in the system?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not required from a business perspective or a CMS technical perspective. I don't know, Jamie, can we take that back and maybe talk to management? That's more of a management thing.
Yeah, I can make a note of it. And then you also mentioned e-approvals. Just you shouldn't be using e-approvals if your contract is in CMS. The approvals are right. Okay.
Yeah, I understand that. I was just giving that as an example for the current non-CMS process that we have in Central PD, where I create the 3 Word documents and those get sent via email, pre-approved by the head, and then it gets sent up to engineering services who creates the e-approval, comes back to me, I click complete and so forth. And I'm really hoping moving forward that we can just stick to sort of one system and not have this like duplication of effort. And it's great. Thank you for bringing it up to the management team. I really appreciate that. Thanks.
Yep, no problem.
Can we cover a change request over to a change order as well? We could do that. Maybe I could do that now, sure. To get a change order approved, is there a percentage or threshold within 10% that gets approved, or does the price have to match exactly? It has to match or be below exactly. If it's 1 penny over what the DOFMA is approved for, it won't let it go through. So that's how that works. Why aren't typically management reviewers, approvers involved in the CO process, like area manager head? It doesn't seem like management has been consulted and is okay with only one DOFMA approver. So let me open my OneNote here. The DOFMA structure in CMS is based off of this right here. The official DOFMA structure for the OPS, and this is for engineering and construction specifically. So you can see engineering starts at the head. So as far as approving the actual content of, or approving the change in value to the contract, that starts at the head at 99,000. So, and then it goes up from there. You can see in construction, we've got much more broken down thresholds. So there's more people to the reviewers, but we've got a lot more change orders in construction as well. But that's why it doesn't go through area manager, because area manager is not part of the DOFMA approval process. And when you're clicking initiate DOFMA, that's strictly what you're doing, is getting permission to change the value of the contract as delegated down by the minister. I think Sabina?
Yeah, just to what you explained, Ryan, I have a sneaking suspicion in Central Region, the head typically doesn't like seeing it unless it's gone through the area manager first. So I think, I don't know, that might pose a concern in other regions as well. Despite, I understand the whole DOFMA thing, but that checks and balances thing, usually the area manager takes a look at it, says they're okay, and then you submit it to the head. So I'm wondering if, yeah, go ahead.
You're wondering if what?
No, go ahead.
Their permission to the change order. So it's just a quick FYI. Hey, can you look at this change order? Are you okay with it before it goes up for approval? So that's always possible too. It just doesn't fit, physically go to them in the system.
Okay, great. Thanks.
So this is the change request. Unforeseen circumstances, scope change, work by others, changes to policy or standards, the date that you identified it. This is the service provider filling out this change request. And then you can add items. So description, I want more money for this. Quantity of 1, price of 10,000. Then you can upload supporting documentation as well. Oh, I'm in the wrong. I'm in the wrong agreement. There we go. There. They can add service provider comments or internal comments. I can see both of them because I'm a domain administrator, but the internal comments would be just for MTO. You submit this. Submit for AME review. So this one does go to the area manager. Change order type would be changing the work. You justify it. You respond to the change request. Here's your estimate. I agree with the 10,000. These fields here are what the system's going to use to calculate the DOFMA threshold, so how high it needs to go for approval. So these two fields right here are what defines that. You can upload your own documentation. You could submit for area manager review. Then you submit for EST review. We still don't have DOFMA approved yet. And then the EST is the one that initiates DOFMA. So they review everything, make sure it's good to go. Initiate DOFMA, it's going to use net value as the approval. So this is the head. Here's the COAS here. Oh, sorry, this is change request. It's not a change order. I'll approve this. I'm getting email notifications too for these workflow changes. And then here it is. We have approved 10,000. We're ready to go here. I'll click approve. You issued the decision to the service provider. Once it loads. There we go. Now the submitted date and the close date are populated. The status is approved. And I've got this button here, create change management. I click that. That's what's going to take me over to the change management, and it's going to carry the DOFMA approval with me. So I won't need to circulate the change order back up for DOFMA. It's already approved in the change request. You can see there's the change request there, submitted in the change management. I can title this appropriately, change the title from what the change request was, and then create my initiation and go from there. And then that's the same process we just went through. So I won't do another initiation, but my understanding is that all engineering work must be approved via original assignment or via CO, and we don't allow SPs to work at risk. Does the option to accept undisputed amount and then move forward with approving a CO create the risk of a misunderstanding where an SP then proceeds to complete work that was not formally approved? I'm not sure. I guess it would depend on the SP specifically, but price agreement is a binding mechanism to the contract that defines the value of a change to the contract. So there would be no argument saying that they accepted the undisputed amount and therefore you have to give me my 12,000 even though you're only giving me 10,000. The point would be for them to go through a claim and get the additional 2,000 they feel they're owed that way. All it does is put a note on the change order that they accepted an undisputed amount and not accepted it. The two buttons really do the same thing. It's just, I guess, disposing the service provider's position on the price agreement. So good questions. Now we'll get into invoices. So all service provider invoices will be entered and approved in CMS. Here's the workflow for an invoice. An invoice is initiated by the external consultant PM. It comes into the EST for review. Then it goes to the PM PERA for review. Then it goes back to the EST for processing. They process it and then manually transcribe it to PPS. We're not integrated with PPS through any sort of back-end data broker fix. We don't have that ability right now. So it's a manual transcription from the CMS invoice into PPS by the EST. This is the invoice section. So you choose new. I don't believe you have to choose your contract from a drop-down. I think that's auto-populated now. But you choose your contract and click next. You choose your period from to dates to represent the range of work that you're invoicing for. This would be the service provider, obviously, filling all this in. You've got your invoice reference number. This is the company's own invoice reference number if they want to. Notes, distribution list. Again, you can use the distribution list to carbon copy people and have them notified if they're not part of the workflow already. And then you've got your grid here, your invoice grid. Shows the current contract amount, the original contract amount, any changes. So cumulative change orders would be here. And then the summary for this billing period here is the 60,000. To date is 60,000. Previous invoices is none. So the EST is going to recommend the invoice. They review it and make sure it's all in line with what should be in the or with what's in the contract and what the payment should be for. And then the payment is sent to the PERA for approval. They're the ones most close to the job and understand how much should be billed for. They click approve on the invoice. They can also send it back to provide additional information if they need to. And then it goes to the EST for processing. So the process button doesn't really do anything other than change the status of the record in the system. But it's the EST's queue to go process the payment in PPS. So they shouldn't be clicking process until they've processed the payment in PPS and it's gone through, checks in the mail, and then they come back to CMS and click process. And then this initiating PPS button is a button that we have poised for integration if we ever do integrate with PPS and make this an automated process. But right now it doesn't really do much. So let's see if we can pay that change order that we were just administering. So you're going to go to contract management, invoices, drop down up here, or you can just go to your apps and search invoices. See, I've got 2 here, but their numbers are 3 and 5. That just means I deleted 1, 2, and 4. The system auto numbers things sequentially, and once one number is used, it's sequestered and never used again. So that's how that works. Don't freak out if there's a gap in your invoicing or something. It just means the service provider deleted an invoice and started with a new one. Here's that screen. It is auto-populated here, so your contract's auto-filled. You just click next down here. Again, this would be the service provider doing this. You choose your from to periods. Let's bill for January. You can add comments here. Here's your contract, your invoice reference number. This would be my company's internal reference number. This is for ESTs. They can fill in the PPS reference number afterwards. Add any notes you want, your distribution list, your vendor HST number. You can type that in. Service provider contact. Oh, that's one important thing I'll cover after this, the service provider contact. Here's my original contract, 1.6. My current is 1.72 because we've got 120,000 in changes. You can see there's nothing in this one yet. I haven't saved it, and I haven't put any quantity against the prices, or sorry, against the items. I click show all down here. It expands to basically what the items are in the RFP or queue. You've got your line numbers here, the values of each of them, and then you input your quantity. So I can do this. So quantity is basically a percentage. So each lump sum item has a quantity of 1. So I can say bill me 10%, and it'll bill $10,000 of that. But if I want to do a specific monetary value, I click this button over here, this magnifying glass. I come down. Oh shoot, where is it? Oh, maybe it's not on this type of item. I think it's only on change orders and unit rate items. So I've got, oh, I meant to show change orders. So these are my items, and then I've got change orders down at the bottom here. So title your for engineering training, that's the one that we just administered in the last demo. You can see it's worth 10,000 bucks. It's billing 10,000 right now for 100% of the item. If you don't want to bill all of it, you click your magnifying glass. You click this little expand icon right here, and you can bill a certain dollar figure for it. So if you only want to do that much, it'll do 12.34%. And we can progressively pay that change order out. So I'm done my building of the invoice here. I can upload things if I need to upload a reference or an invoice. I know a lot of service providers still use their own invoicing and then transcribe it into CMS. So that's fine too. Save this. All this should populate with the summary. There it is. So there's 10,000 for that 1% of the first item and $1,234 for the change order item that we're progressively paying. You can see here, now it's reduced. The screen is only showing me the 2 items that I'm billing. So here's item 1 and transaction 4. And then I submit this to the EST. So here's the EST. You've got recommend or provide additional information. They can send it back. I won't go through the approval process. It goes from the EST to the PM back to the EST. Or this is a button available to me because of my domain admin privileges. We can reset it to draft if needed. Something very important to remember about invoices is there can only be one open in-flight invoice at a time. So in-flight means it's not closed. It's between draft and closed. It's somewhere within its workflow being administered. We can only have one invoice at a time open because they're so interdependent with their calculations. The second invoice needs to know the output of the first invoice in order to know the remaining contract value, how much the items have been drawn down, change orders and everything else that have been progressed. And if you don't complete the first one, the second one doesn't have a calculation to base off of, and the numbers will start to get skewed. We see it in construction. We saw it a lot in construction before. We've kind of trained it out of them a little bit, but it's just an education piece to know. We can't really restrict the service provider from submitting an invoice, so we can't validate against it. I suppose we could in engineering. It's not governed by the Construction Act. But for now, just be aware that you can only do one in-flight invoice at a time. Something else important for the ESTs. So this here, the service provider contact and service provider name and everything needs to be filled in on the contract. So there's a contract app. You click this. This is what the EST set up when the contract is being set up. And down here, if I go edit, in the parties section, party, the service provider contact. So this should be filled out with who your service provider PM is, because that person has to have their name in here in order for the invoice to work. This is the invoice basically asks who's the contract signer, who's able to submit invoices, and it's that PM. So you have to have their name there. I was able to do it because I'm a domain admin, but external folks will need to have their name in that section of the contracts app in order to invoice. Just reading the comments here. Yeah, so Cheryl, the process you described there is basically what we've digitized in CMS.
So has this been run by Erica and Sheila?
Mm-hmm.
It just looks to me like we're changing the whole process and we're doing a two-step.
It's not meant to be a change. It's a digital transformation. So the process is looking and feeling quite different in a digital platform.
Sorry, could you repeat that? I was getting some feedback.
Oh, sorry. We're digitizing the process. It's a digital transformation. So the look and feel of the process is going to be quite different in a digital platform. But as far as like the process you described in your message there, like you get DOFMA approval, it's signed by the PM and the service provider. The change order and the price agreement are. The only thing that's missing is the workflow doesn't go to the area manager, but it can still be vocalized and shared with the area manager. They have access to the change
No,
order.
but the process was that the estimate, what the change order work, we would receive a price and have that discussion with the service provider and come up with a final, either whether we ask for a change or whether the consultant tells us we need to change something. Regardless of how it's initiated, there was a process that the PM has a discussion with the service provider, reviews the price for the work, the extra work, and then the forms are completed and approved. The COACE would be the approval for the DOA in e-approvals, and that describes the work and the final price. There's no estimate there. It's a price. It's an actual price. And then once we receive the DOA, the appropriate DOA, then we issue those two forms for the service provider to sign off. So it looks to me like we're doing a whole estimate process and then we're doing a final price process. So it's like,
So the change order and the price agreement documents have always been two separate documents. The change order describes the scope of change to the contract, and the price agreement just defines the means or the type of price, the basis of payment, and the final price.
well,
You
I'm going to
require,
stop you there though. It's different for construction and engineering.
I know.
Construction is based on that premise. Engineering is an actual price. We don't have to go back and forth with estimates in all these documents. It's always been that it was a price that was negotiated up front and we get the approval for that actual price. So now that has all changed, what I'm seeing. And I just wondered if Erica and Sheila were involved in that conversation.
I don't think it's changed. You need an estimate for DOFMA approval. So
Well, no, we do an actual price. We don't do an estimate.
There's
in
no price
engineering.
until it's not a price until it's signed. It's an estimate until it's signed. So you get an estimate for DOFMA.
Yeah, but the current process is that the COACE is the document that we get the DOA on, and that's the actual price. We don't go back for DOA again on the price agreement that gets signed. So I'm just trying to clarify if this whole new process was discussed, because this is the first, we're kind of hearing of this new way of doing a change order, with DOA stuff.
This is the way that the change order document, like the business document, defines the process. There are regional preferences as to how they go, but everything you've described to me sounds like exactly what we're doing in the system, except the change order and the price agreement are issued at two separate times. You need an estimate to get DOFMA, so you need a dollar figure to get permission to change the value of the contract in the first place. You need to know that. Then you get permission. the COACE is circulated in the system. Like I showed that as a PDF. The COACE is created when you're circulating the initiation. It goes for DOFMA approval. Once you have permission to actually change the contract to that value, to the degree of that value, then you can create a change order and issue it. You cannot issue a change order without DOFMA approval. So you can have conversations with the service provider about the price of the change. All that's fine. All that can still occur. But it's not a change and it's not a price until the price agreement is signed.
Well, correct, yes. That's the final signed, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a whole different process, that's all.
It's different for sure. Yep.
How do we get this DOA approval? Like if it's an ADM signing?
It goes right up to the ADM. It goes up to DM.
Okay, so e-approvals I thought was the place where we got all our DOA approvals.
Not for
Not if-
CMS.
Not if the
No,
contract's
I
in
mean
CMS.
for everything that required a DOA was done outside of CMS. We don't
No,
pay invoices in CMS, so I'm not sure why we're getting DOA approvals in CMS is all.
If the contract is in CMS, the approval is in CMS, and the invoice is in CMS. Like anything that was done by e-approvals previously, if the contract is in CMS, is superseded by the approvals in CMS.
So right now we do approval to post, which is invitation stage. We do award approval, which is the award stage, and we do change orders. We do those in e-approvals. Here in Eastern, we don't approve invoices in CMS or e-approvals. Never have. So
They don't
it was,
require it.
pardon me?
They don't require it. Like e-approvals would be
Exactly.
for
They
DOFMA,
shouldn't
right?
be
Yeah.
in e-approvals. E-approvals was set up for an actual approval to start a project, to award a project, or to make a change to a project, was my understanding. So now it's kind of like we're doing some approval portions and e-approvals, and I know the invoices and stuff, that approval's fine in CMS. That's the way it probably should be. But the change order is a bit different. Anyway, I just had
The
some different
distinction
thoughts
is
on it.
that CMS is everything after the contract is awarded. So yeah, it wouldn't make sense to have the procurement
Yeah.
approval, whatnot in CMS, but the change order is during the contract, so that's the
Yeah.
proper place for it. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll try and navigate it here.
Okay.
Thanks.
We're always here to support. All right, great discussion. James, you're up.
Sorry there. Oh. Okay, engineering performance appraisals. So they're built into the CMS system. So we'll go through this step and through the steps and then show the demo. The appraisals are in the system. Okay, so the first part here is creating a new appraisal. So the PM initiates the engineering performance appraisal. They go into the engineering performance appraisal app. Then they create new, they fill out the information as required. In the demo, we'll go through it in some more detail. There's a lot of information that they put in there. Then the PM will click Save Close and then proceed to specialty review. So next slide. Yep. There we go. Okay, so then so again, the PM clicks proceed to specialty review. It'll be at the top of their screen, as Ryan mentioned earlier. All the buttons are at the top of the screen now. They can click on that button and then scroll down their page, and then they'll come to 2.0 quality of deliverables, there should be a send there, and then that will push out a notification to the specialty reviewer to review that item. Next slide. Okay, so this is what the reviewer will see. So again, they can fill out the details here. They can choose a submittal package to add in. The PM can add that as well, but if they haven't, then the reviewer has to put that in there. So once they complete the specialty review, they can click complete, and that is done. So then it will go back to PM. So as the PM now, they can review it again. They'll have the send to manager button at the top of the screen again, which will send it to the manager listed within the EPA. The appraisal will now be with the manager for review and approval, and the EPA will be in the manager review stage. So you'll see the stage change. The status there. Next slide. So the PM will now have sure, slide here. Okay, so the manager will now get a task to review and approve the appraisal. So at this point, they can save it as a draft, request more information, or approve the appraisal as it is. And then at that point, the PM can issue to service provider. They will receive a task for this too. Okay, so once the PM issues the appraisal to the service provider receives that task, which they can either save, acknowledge, request the appraisal review meeting, or do the level 1 appeal. So the manager will receive a notification if they choose either the request a meeting or if they select level 1 appeal. Okay, so this is the service provider. So they're navigating to the task. They click on the save button at the draft, or they can click that level 2 appeal. And if they click the level 2 appeal, once they've received it back, it'll go to the Secretary of Qualifications Committee. Slide here. So the service provider will see another task with the option again to save, acknowledge, or go to level 2 appeal. Selecting level 2 will bring it to the Secretary of Qualifications, and then the Secretary of Qualifications can now go into the record from their tasks and review and make any changes, upload their final decision document, and issue the final decision. So they have a checkbox as well to make sure they have to upload the PDF before issuing the final decision. So you see that here. Next slide here. So the record here will show as closed. Oh, sorry, this is the Secretary of Qualification Committee again. So they can go into the record from their tasks, they review and make any changes, upload that decision, and then it shows as closed and approved here. And then the EST will be notified to upload the record into RAC's ESP. So they'll get an email notification there. All right, so now we'll go into the demo to show this new CMS. There we go. Make sure we're back in the within the contract. So we'll go to the EPA or EP. So this is our engineering performance appraisal app. So again, we'll click on the new button. We'll enter in our subject here. So just put in EPA demo appraisal. We'll scroll down. We have to select our manager. I'm just going to put that as myself. So it'll come to me. Again, you can fill out the distribution if you want to send it to anybody else to see as the project progresses. I'll go down to project information. There's a few more things to fill in the highway, so we'll just do 406. The MTO division, we'll do transportation infrastructure. Pick out your MTO office. All right, then we go down to the appraisal details. So you'll have a drop down here, so you can choose from annual, interim, or final. So depending on the length of your assignment, you determine which one you choose. A lot of times it would be final if it's only a couple of years. We'll choose interim here. Application type, so we'll just choose RFP. Then we'll have the appraisal categories. So this is where there's a blue button again. You can click that and you can actually link your appraisal categories. So you see a whole list here to choose from: foundation engineering, environmental, electrical. So if we're doing electrical and then electrical development, we can select that item and then click the actual select button. That will link the appraisal category. And you can select more than one as well in there. Keep scrolling down now. And we'll go to 1.0 project management. Let me just make this screen bigger so you can see it here. So here we can put in the ratings and the weight for each of the items that we have. I'm going to expand this again just to make it bigger. And I'll put the weights in here. Each one of these, and then you'll see it automatically populates, starts working on the score there. So to actually put the rating in, we have to select the magnifying glass on the left there. That will allow us to select the rating from 1 to 5. So I can say this is commendable. I can put my comments in here if I would like. Again, add that there. And then we'll just go to the next one, carry on putting a rating in for each one of these. Third one. Say it's outstanding. This one, I'll say it's outstanding as well. And then the fifth one, you'll notice that we don't put the rating in here. This is calculated from 2.0 quality of deliverables. So we'll show that in a second here. So I'll click done, and that's the rating that we have now. So it'll populate the 3.6 at the top based on those weights. Then we'll go down to quality of deliverables. So this is our specialty ratings table. So we can insert here, and then we can add in our specialty. Depending on what it is, we selected electrical, so we'll do that. And then you can put more than one in here. So this, I think this is the weight for this particular item. So we'll put 100. And then I'll put myself as the reviewer. So put to me. And we can also open that up. And then in here, we can insert a submittal package table. So we can actually reference our submittals, or when we send it to the reviewers, they can add that in there as well. So I'll click done here. And then I'll rate my 3.0 occupational health and safety. So it's a drop down again there. So you can do 1, 2, or 3. I'll say it's satisfactory. And then you have an option to upload attachments as well. So I'll close, save and close this. And it's saying the weights of activity categories in section 1.0 was added to 100. So let's just check there. Maybe I'll insert the project here. All right, so I'll add this in here, the training demo contract. Add my submittal package in there. The weight for it. 100. Done. Save and close that. I must not have added this up correctly here. Should add up. It's me here. I'll have to put up the weight here. Sorry, it just pulls over the weighting. Isn't the rating, not the weight. So I'll add in the weight there for number 5. Just the rating gets pulled over. Okay, now I'll hit save and close. That adds up to 100%. So now we can review it. And if we're good with what we've entered in there, we can proceed to specialty review. And then once we select that, we can scroll down the page here. And then we can send the specialty review for electrical, we'll send that. Then that will become a task for myself to approve. And then once I approve that, we can send to manager. So you just see that the task popped up in the bottom right there. So I can click on that. I'll open it up, I'll have a look, add my comments. Viewed. Again, I've already added the specialty submittal package table, so that's in here already. Again, that pulls over from the rating that you put in your submittal package. Now I can press or click complete, or I can send it back for more information. Go back into my EPA. And now when I go into the record, it should show that reviewers review as complete. Just go down, try the right one here. Scroll over, then we'll see that's complete. Okay. Just gonna make sure I'm at the right one. Okay, so now that we have that completed electrical rating, shows complete here. Now we can send that over to the manager. So click send to manager at the top. So that will go to our manager. You can see the ball and courts. That would be myself again. So I get another task. So open that up. A lot of this goes back and forth between different users. There's not much more information to add in here. So I will approve that after I do my review as the manager. So click approve. Then you'll see the status change. So go back into my EPA. And I'll get another task. So open the task up. So now as the PM, I can issue the to the service provider. So it'll come back to me, and then I can issue to service provider. So now if we go back into the EPA, we'll open up where we had it. So this actually went to the service provider for here, different James. So if we go, someone was asking about delegating before. So if we go into our project tasks, we can find it as well. The service provider review task. So I can go on here, find that EPA that we're just working on, the demo appraisal. I can click on delegate, and then I can put it back to myself so I can complete the review. I can notify the originator that the task is delegated, send a message if I would like, whatever that would be, click submit. And then that task will go to myself. I'll go back into the EPA. So there's my task, service provider. And now I can have a look at the EPA. If I'm in agreement, I can acknowledge it. If I just save it, the system will automatically approve it after 21 days. The same thing goes for level 2 appeal if it goes that far. So whenever you see these the 3 dots here, that just means that there's a drop down, so you can see more information there. So we can make this bigger. So there's our full options. So we have the appraisal review meeting, level 1 appeal. So again, level 1 appeal, that will go back and for the manager to review. Or I can just acknowledge it and then that will be the end of it. So if I click acknowledge, let's see the time here. Yeah, so I'll click, why don't I do level 1 appeal? Just see the process for that. So if you do click level 1 appeal, it's going to tell you that you have to upload the documentation. So click OK. So if you scroll all the way down to the bottom at the references, there's again, there's the upload. So you have to upload your document. So you can just pick something that you have in here. Again, I'll just put my supporting documents in there. I'm going to click that checkbox. Oops, there we go. The checkbox. And then I can click on level 1 appeal. And then that will go back to the manager. EPA. So then you see the level 1 appeal here. I get another notification. And it does, there's a lot of back and forth between this app, going from different approvers and service providers. So here we are. We can update the approval now. We can reissue to a service provider if we made any changes based on what their documentation said. And then that would go back to the service provider. And then I can just click reissue to service provider. Again, they'll have the option to do a level 2 appeal now. So we won't do that. It's just a lot of back and forth. It's the same. And then if they don't action it, they can acknowledge it, or they can just wait the 21 days and then the system will automatically approve it. And then when the system does the automatic approvals, after the 21 days, it does notify everybody on there. So everybody does know that I think the distribution list, the service provider, the manager, and the PM all get notified. And then once they click acknowledge, or if they click acknowledge, the EST is notified as well, and then they can upload those documents to RACS ESP. Go back into slideshow. If there's any questions on that one. Scanning. So the next one is Milestones. So the Milestones app is a standard Kahoot application. It can be used to track project schedule and key milestone dates. We did cover a lot of this in the general functionality piece. So we'll just do this briefly. Okay, so the milestones are meant to be used for anything you want to be tracked or that needs to be tracked. So you can track any key dates or maybe some reporting information. You can have predecessors and successors. And yeah, I think we went over this pretty much in its entirety earlier on, so we won't go through the demo again. I don't know if there's, pass it back over to Ryan.
I'm going to pass it to Jamie. I think we're done.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's fantastic. Thanks for everybody that hang in there. Again, to reiterate, this is a new process, so it is going to take some time, and we recognize that there are, different nuances in different regions, and when you're moving into a system type environment, you do have to try to bring things into a more common standard workflow. So that doesn't preclude, some things from happening outside of the system, or some of the things like some of the notifications, or including other managers that maybe aren't in the mandatory workflow. But our experience in construction, has been positive in the sense that there was some anxiety as we first started as well, and then as you become more familiar, everything becomes a lot easier and more straightforward. So we will make this training session available, and other training sessions like this are available as well. And yeah, we thank everyone for your questions and your participation. You can contact us at mtocms@ontario.ca for any specific questions on your projects. We're always happy to support and provide smaller one-on-one sessions. But yeah, thank you again for everyone for your attendance. Have a great day.
Paul, did you have a question? I saw a hand up.
Yeah, sorry guys. I was trying to type it in the chat, but it wasn't working. Is there a dark mode option available for the Kahua app?
Yeah,
or program?
yeah. If you go in the top right, click on your initials there, it should be in that list.
Okay, perfect. No, that's all I want to ask.
I like dark mode too, but it's not as good for presenting. So
Yeah,
I
no,
keep
for
it on
sure.
the light
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, I know. I understood that aspect of it, but I know most people seem to like dark mode more for the eyes, a little easier, right?
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you guys.
Saw a couple other hands dart up and then back down.